Yo, bro, welcome back. If you are here, it is because you are Commanders fam, and that already makes you different from everybody else. While other fan bases are chilling, celebrating their seasons, we are here in March of 2026, breaking down every move, every rumor, every signing, every mock draft, like our whole life was riding on it. And honestly, at this point in the process, it kind of is, because whatever happens in the next few weeks is going to decide whether the Washington Commanders roll into the 2026 season as legit contenders or as that team that has potential all over again. And bro, I am tired of potential. We want results. Today we have 3 stories, each one a little crazier than the last. We start with a signing you might have brushed off, but that has more substance than it looks like. Then we dive into Mel Kiper's mock draft and that 7th pick that is getting the whole Commanders community talking. And to close it out, bro, we finish with the most interesting debate of this Washington offseason. Should the Commanders give Stefon Diggs a shot? Fam, that topic alone deserves its own video, but we are hitting it right here. All of it. No filters, with the full breakdown it deserves. Grab your coffee, throw on your burgundy cap, and let's roll. There is a lot to talk about today. News 1, Van Jefferson signed by the Commanders. Okay, bro, let's start with what a lot of people treated like a second-tier headline. Washington signs Van Jefferson, 29-year-old wide receiver, ex-Ram, ex-Falcon, ex-Steeler, ex-Titan. And yeah, I already know what is going through your head. Another depth wideout for what? And look, I get the skepticism after the Commanders could not close on Alec Pierce, who went to Indianapolis on a 4-year, $116 million deal, and after Romeo Doubs chose New England. You come into this kind of signing with your eyebrows raised, but hear me out, because there is more meat on this bone than it seems. Van Jefferson has something that not everybody in that receiver's room has. Real winning experience. Bro, this dude won a Super Bowl, not as a backup, not as a practice squad body. He started every game of that season with the Rams, including the Super Bowl against the Bengals at SoFi Stadium. You remember that night, right? That night when Cooper Kupp was unstoppable, when Matthew Stafford finally closed the book on a career with a ring. Well, Van Jefferson was out there on that field, part of that Sean McVay offense that ran like a Swiss watch. That stuff sticks with you, bro. That is winning culture you carry in your body. Now, let's keep it 100 with the numbers, because we are not out here selling smoke. Last season with the Titans, Jefferson finished with 29 catches, 350 yards, and 1 touchdown in 16 games before hitting injured reserve with a forearm injury. That stat line is not going to blow anybody's mind. But that is not really the point. The point is Jefferson is coming in to fill a very specific role. Veteran technician, someone who knows how to run clean routes, who can get separation on 3rd down, and who can be a safety valve for Jaden Daniels when the pocket gets messy. And check this, fam, because it matters. Jefferson's age is a real factor. At 29, this is not somebody at the end of a career. This is a receiver in the mature stretch of a prime who should still have enough gas in the tank to contribute consistently. The issues at the last stops in Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee have way more to do with scheme fit than with him being washed. In a well-designed offense, with a young, talented quarterback like Daniels who can make any receiver look better, Jefferson might surprise a bunch of people. Now, let's look at who else is in that receiver's room right now. Terry McLaurin is still the number 1, the vet leader, the heartbeat of the offense. But after Terry, the depth was sketchy. With Jefferson coming in and Duami Brown back in the mix, the draft pick Washington brought back, they are giving Daniels more options. More route variety, more bodies on the field that can stress defenses. None of them is the final piece. But together, they make the offense less predictable, and that already has value. You also have to see this in draft context. The Commanders are almost certainly going to draft a receiver with one of the early picks in April. That means Jefferson does not need to be the locked-in WR2 on this squad. All that is being asked is for him to be good enough to contribute while the draft plays out, and potentially to slide into a complementary role once the rookie is up to speed. That is manageable, that is realistic, and that, bro, is exactly what Adam Peters is trying to build, a roster with layers. With depth, with redundancy at key spots. There's another little wrinkle I cannot ignore, and it is interesting from a narrative angle. Jefferson comes from winning a Super Bowl with the Rams under Sean McVay. Dan Quinn, the Commanders' head coach, is tied into an offensive philosophy that lines up pretty closely with what McVay built in Los Angeles. There is shared language, shared concepts Jefferson already knows. That is not a small thing when you're trying to install a system in a short window before training camp. A player who already speaks part of the staff's offensive language is a real asset, even if that never shows up on a preseason stat sheet. And fam, let's be clear, Van Jefferson is not the solution to the Commanders' receiver problem. Nobody is saying that, but this is a smart, low-cost, low-risk signing with a decent upside for a team still building out its roster and a young quarterback who needs more options to grow. Bringing in a vet like Jefferson makes all the sense in the world. We clap for the move, we understand the ceiling, and we keep it moving. Because, bro, what comes next in this video, that is a whole different level. Okay, fam, hold up, because now we are diving into Mel Kiper's mock draft, and there is a name at 7 that has the whole Commanders community going in. Let's get it. News 2, Mel Kiper projects Sonny Styles at pick 7. Bro, Mel Kiper just dropped the new mock draft and has the Commanders taking Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, with the 7th pick of the 2026 NFL Draft. And look, I know the first wave of reactions from the fan base was split. I saw the comments on Twitter, on Reddit, in the group chats, a linebacker in the top 10 for real, and I get that reaction. In this passer-first NFL era, taking a linebacker that high feels like you are swimming against the current. But bro, let me give you the full context on this pick because there is a lot to unpack. First off, Sonny Styles is not just some random linebacker. This kid finished the season with 77 tackles and then jumped 43.5 inches at the combine. 43.5 inches, bro. For context, that is a number plenty of safeties and corners do not hit. We're talking about an athlete who weighs around 240 pounds and jumps like there are springs in those cleats. Kiper has Styles ranked 6th overall on the big board regardless of position, not 6th linebacker, 6th player in the whole draft. That is the level we're talking about. Now let's think about Washington's need, because that is where the pick really starts to make sense. The Commanders had one of the most stressed, picked-apart defenses in the entire 2025 season. Linebacker was a real need, and things only got worse with the Bobby Wagner situation. Since all signs point to Wagner walking in free agency, Wagner was a temporary upgrade, a veteran presence who brought leadership and zone coverage, but the long-term answer at that spot in Washington still needed to be found. With Styles, you check that box in one shot, a player who could be the anchor of that defense for 10 years or more. Kiper breaks it down pretty bluntly. The Commanders could not stop anybody last season. And bro, that hits hard because it is true. The defense had structural problems. Drop Styles in next to Frankie Louvu and Leo Chenal, the new addition, and suddenly you have a linebacker room that looks physical, solid, versatile. Louvu is nasty in blitz packages and can hold up in space. Chenal brings straight power at the line of scrimmage. And Styles, with that explosion and that read and react ability, becomes the brain and the engine of the group. It is a defensive vision that actually makes tactical sense. But bro, I have to keep it real with you because we are family here. The debate over whether Styles is the right pick at 7 is legit. And there are solid arguments on the other side. Kiper himself notes that the Commanders could absolutely grab a receiver there. Carnell Tate, also from Ohio State, would still be on the board at that spot in this mock. And when you think about how much juice Washington's passing game still needs, how many more weapons Daniels could use, going receiver at 7 is not crazy at all. Honestly, there is a version of this where taking a true WR1 to pair with McLaurin has a more immediate impact on winning games in 2026. The pro linebacker case comes from a playoff build mindset where physical defenses and linebackers who can match up with tight ends and running backs in coverage are absolutely critical. Think about it. How many times have we seen playoff teams with high-flying offenses fall short because they could not stop anybody? The Commanders do not want to be that team. Daniels is special. The offense has real potential. But if the defense keeps being a sieve, that potential gets wasted. Styles would be a statement that Washington is serious about building both sides of the ball. And fam, Styles' athletic profile as a modern linebacker is exactly what the 2026 NFL demands. Modern backers are not just run stoppers. They have to drop in coverage against fast tight ends. They have to blitz from different angles. They have to diagnose RPOs and misdirection in a split second. Styles has all those tools. That 43.5-inch vert tells you he has the twitch and explosion that translate to closing on receivers in coverage and redirecting in the run game. This is the prototype now. Athletic, smart, and versatile. All that said, bro, reality check. No mock draft is gospel. Adam Peters has already shown a willingness to think outside the box. 7 could be Styles. It could be Tate. It could be someone nobody is mocking to Washington right now. What is clear is that Washington owns a premium pick in the top 10 and is aiming it at a player who can make an impact from day one. If Sonny Styles is on the board, he fits that profile perfectly. And if the Commanders pull the trigger, fam, I think the fan base is going to love what shows up on the field in year one. Drop it in the comments. Are you taking Styles at 7? Or are you going receiver? This is exactly the kind of back and forth I love having with this community. But hold on. Because what is coming up now is the debate of the offseason in Washington. And it comes with a name that has already been to 4 Pro Bowls. Let's go. Okay, bro. This next part is a whole other level. This is the conversation the entire Commanders nation is stuck on. Strap in. News 3, should the Commanders sign Stefon Diggs? Listen, we need to talk about Stefon Diggs. And bro, this is the topic that is splitting Commanders Nation straight down the middle into 2 camps. And today we're going to lay out every argument, every angle, and you can tell me which side you are on. Because if Peters pulls the trigger on this, it is going to shape the identity of this team in 2026. First, let's establish who Stefon Diggs is in 2026. 4-time Pro Bowler, one of the best receivers of this generation, a player who, in Buffalo, was part of the best passing attack in the AFC for several years. A receiver who, rocking that 17 in Buffalo, put up seasons that had people calling Diggs one of the top WR1s in the league. That is the resume. Now, the current situation, Diggs is on the market. No team the run in New England is done, and Diggs is turning 33 in November. And that, bro, is where the real debate kicks in. Last season with the Patriots, Diggs was legitimately good. 85 catches, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns. First Patriots receiver to hit 1,000 yards since Julian Edelman back in 2019. And that matters because Diggs did it in the middle of a rebuild with a quarterback who was not some established superstar. If Diggs can do that in that context, imagine what Diggs could do with Jaden Daniels. Bro, just think about it for a second. Diggs route running, the separation, the hands, paired with a quarterback who has the arm talent and mobility Daniels has. That could get scary in a good way. And fam, there's a factor you cannot ignore. Diggs is DMV. Montgomery County, Maryland, played at Our Lady of Good Counsel in Olney. This player grew up with this area, knows the community, knows what it would mean to suit up for Washington. That storyline basically writes itself. The hometown kid coming back to help the local squad right when it needs the boost the most. That is not just marketing, bro. That is real motivation. That is a player with something personal on the line when those burgundy and gold colors go on. Now, let's be honest about the flip side, because aquí no endulzamos nada. Diggs carries a history that makes people nervous. Things ended weird in Buffalo. Reports say Diggs is not always the easiest teammate to manage. The dynamic with Josh Allen hit a tension point that led to the trade. In New England, things went smoother, but that was not exactly a championship contender environment. So the real question is this: how does a veteran with that mindset and that ego fit into a young building roster with a second-year quarterback who is still trying to establish authority in the locker room? Because, bro, that is the piece I care about most. Protecting Jaden Daniels' development, a young quarterback needs a receiver's room that lifts, that stays patient when the inevitable mistakes come, that is not throwing side-eye every time a ball is a little off. The best receivers for young quarterbacks are the ones who make the learning curve feel like progress. And the question with Diggs is absolutely fair. Would Diggs show up in that mentor mindset, or would Diggs complicate the chemistry in that locker room? Then there is the money and timing angle. Diggs is not in position to demand some monster contract. Not anymore. At 33 with this market, you are probably talking a one-year deal, maybe modest guarantees. That makes Diggs pretty attractive from a cap standpoint. Peters has already shown discipline with the checkbook, and the chance to land a player of that caliber on a one-year flyer without wrecking your cap is tempting on paper. But you still have to ask, if you are committing that money to a receiver, is Diggs actually the best way to spend it? Or are there younger, more durable options that would give you more upside over the next few years? And this is where the real tension in the debate lives, fam. The Commanders have a plan. On paper, that plan looks like it includes waiting out Brandon Ayuk whenever the Niners finally move on. If that is the big swing target, then every other move you make in the receiver's room has to fit around that. Signing Diggs on a one-year deal could be a short-term bridge while you wait out the Ayuk situation, but it could also be money and attention spent on somebody who ends up making more noise than impact if the personality fit is off. Do not forget Jawan Jennings is still out there in free agency too. Peters knows Jennings well from the San Francisco days. There is already trust, already chemistry, already language shared in the offensive system. Jennings is younger, lines up better with that physical receiver profile that pairs nicely with McLaurin and does not bring the same personality baggage Diggs does. If Peters has to choose between those two, bro, logic says Jennings is the cleaner option, but Diggs is the more talented one. Fam, when you stack everything up, here is where I land. If Adam Peters can put together a one-year deal for Diggs, that does not mess up cap flexibility for a potential Ayuk move and does not get in the way of Jaden Daniels' development, then on paper, signing Diggs makes sense. The upside is real. The talent level is proven. The DMV connection adds a legit emotional layer, but it has to be on Washington's terms with expectations crystal clear and with locker room culture and chemistry conversations handled before any ink hits paper. Because Washington in 2026 cannot afford another circus. This team needs cohesion, needs clear direction, needs focus. Diggs can absolutely be part of the solution, but mishandled Diggs can turn into a distraction. So now I'm throwing it back to you, Commanders Nation. Are you signing Stefon Diggs, yes or no? Drop it below and tell me why. I want to read every angle because, bro, this one does not have an easy answer, and I want to see where this community stands. Bro, that is everything for today, and it was heavy. It had substance. It was exactly the level of breakdown this team and this fan base deserve. From Van Jefferson to Sonny Styles to the Diggs debate, the Washington Commanders are moving, making decisions, building something, and we are right here tracking every step, every rumor, every signing like the real fans we are. Look, the 2026 Commanders offseason is not done yet. There are more moves coming. The draft is right around the corner. Ayuk is still a name we all have to keep on the radar, and Jaden Daniels is at that stage of a career where every decision the front office makes around the quarterback might be the difference between a sophomore slump and a jump straight into that elite quarterback conversation. Fam, the next few months are going to teach us a lot. They are going to be intense, and we're going to be right here for all of it. No filters, with all the energy this fan base deserves. If this video gave you something to think about, if you learned something, if the Diggs debate had you in full analysis mode, bro, drop a like. It costs you 0 seconds and it means everything for this channel. Hit subscribe if you have not yet, because we cover the Commanders with a level of detail and passion you are not finding anywhere else. And let me know in the comments, Styles at 7, yes or no? Diggs, yes or no? I want that comment section on fire today. Commanders Nation, until the next video, HTTR,